Welcome everyone, it's the Crypto Lark. Super excited to have the Crypto Zombie back on.
Lark, it is an absolute honor and pleasure to be back on. I can't even remember the last time that we had a conversation together, so it's been long overdue. Thank you so much for having me back on the channel, bro.
Always a pleasure, mate. Hey, by the way, have you seen this new Jim Jarmusch movie, The Dead Don't Die? It's a zombie film.
I didn't. The one with like Bill Murray and Adam. Did you see it?
Yeah,
Or
I just watched it the other night, man. It was a good time.
you know what? Maybe for tonight then, because I've been wanting to watch it. I didn't even know it came out. So
Yeah,
and it's totally fitting, right?
yeah,
So
it's about zombies, man. It's about zombies, So I just thought, the Crypto Zombie. Gotta watch some zombie films. Actually, I used to watch a lot of zombie films back in the day, and I was always super freaked out by them, especially when I was a kid, because Ramiro based all his zombie films in like rural Pennsylvania, which is where I grew up.
oh, I didn't know that.
So I was always freaked out. I was like, oh my god, this is happening like down the street.
I still like the remake. You ever see the remake that Tom Savini did? He was the makeup artist that did all like the Friday the 13th movies, and he did a remake of it. There's like the most horrifying zombies I've ever seen. So as a kid, it was like couldn't sleep. So
Yeah. It's good
yeah,
stuff. Anyway,
speaking
zombies.
of crypto, speaking about crypto, yeah.
Let's go to the crypto part of your name. So I wanted to we're going to be talking about all kinds of fun stuff today, guys. Not just zombies, of course, but we're going to be talking about all kinds of fun stuff. We're going to talk about IEOs and altcoins, Bitcoin dominance, what Bakkt might mean for the market, and some other stuff too, depending on what we get to, of course. But I want to start off with the IEO boom. So this was obviously such a big trend at the start of the year where everybody was just making retarded amounts of money on IEOs. Do you think that the boom is over?
Kind of, yeah. Honestly, it was a little bit discouraging, like the model itself really, I don't think could last that long anyway, once people caught on, because whereas original ICOs were truly decentralized. I mean, even if you use like a Prima block or something, you would send it, it would be decentralized, you'd get it sent back to you. But when you're going through an exchange, it's already designed to make a certain X. I mean, they're going to release the token at whatever price they want, and it doesn't really fit the model of the original, in my opinion, I guess, ethos of the fundraising, using decentralized methods. So that being said, no. And plus on top of that, people are just discouraged. Most of us can't get in. US citizens can't get in. And let's be honest, most of them just end up dumping after they come out anyway. So it really is just a race to basically, hopefully I get my ticket picked, then dump as fast as you can. I mean, is that really a model that people want to keep participating in? I don't think so. So I'm not bashing any particular IEOs. I just think it was, in my opinion, a very short-lived period. I think we're going to move on to a better model. I don't know what that'll be. STOs, not sure, but I think you're going to see a much better model soon.
Yeah, it's these growing pains that we go through in the entire crypto market overall, and I think the IEO boom. You noticed at the start of the IEO boom, there's a lot more high quality projects. And then after about 2 or 3 months, they started scraping the bottom of the barrel a little bit more. And you still see some high quality projects coming out, which is cool. But now there's just simply not as many high quality projects out there in crypto land. Right, we've got so many tokens, so many blockchains.
If you think about it, having to come out with one every month. You know what I mean? That as opposed to just waiting, for something to come along that's been, they've been working on it, they've been building on it. Now it's just like, okay, we got to churn out another one. We got to churn out another one. And somewhere along the line, the quality does kind of get lost in the mix. So I do agree with you. Some of the earlier ones I thought were of higher quality. So I do agree with that.
Yeah, and it's just interesting to see where it's going to go. I mean, obviously we had the first IDO, which the initial DEX offering, which basically, same thing like an IEO except on a DEX. But, we're progressing. And I'd like to see some really great quality STOs coming out. Because remember last year we all talked, the STOs, they're going to come and save the crypto industry. And we've hardly had any actual STOs,
That's true. Well, I mean, just to kind of put the ball in your court and ask you your opinion. I mean, I know you still discuss altcoins. I mean, I don't know what your portfolio looks like. I'm not going to get into that right now, but I do know that I personally have sold pretty much all of my altcoins. I mean, my altcoin bags used to be well over 85-90%. I used to have 10% Bitcoin, and you can literally take that number and flip it now. I have about, I don't think it's like 92% Bitcoin and the other 8% altcoins. And they're not all because I sold. Actually, what happened was my altcoins lost so much value compared to the Bitcoin that at one point that was the reason. And then after that, I said, you know what? This doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to keep buying something that keeps falling. I mean, yes, you can try to time the bottom, sure. But here's an idea. Why not just wait until you actually have a confirmed uptrend? And okay, so you missed the first 5, 10, 20%. Big deal. You get the next 700.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, and for me right now, it's just been it's been Bitcoin. You know, everyone's looking at Bitcoin. The institutions are looking at Bitcoin. Bakkt is coming out. You've seen what Fidelity was doing. You're not seeing CNBC talking about altcoins on page 5, 6, 7, 8. And when the masses come in, which coin you think they're going to buy? The one that's the household name, the one that's the most trusted. Now, I do believe that once we reach some of these all-time highs, and it doesn't even have to be necessarily 20K, I actually think the 14K level is very significant, but the psychology of the 20K level to the retail investor is really what's going to bring in the next mass. Right. It sucks to admit this because, yeah, you guys are going to be buying it high again, but I've just convinced myself that is how the retail investor works. They just wait until something explodes and then pile on and hope for the best without doing any research or knowing what they're even buying, which was a huge issue last year. So many people investing in so many projects. I mean, the white papers started getting so unbelievably convoluted. I didn't even know what I was reading after a while. Like, it was just buzzword after buzzword, you know, and you just knew something was wrong. Like and I think that just like we had the BitConnects, right, which was terrible. A lot of people lost money. We also had the ICO boom of 2017, early 2018. And you know what? A lot of people lost money, but it had to happen, man. Like, it had to. And it sucks being the pioneers because, you know, we're the guys that get the arrows in the back, but that's the situation.
Overall, I think it's good for the market that all this has happened. The reality of the alt season capitulation, I don't know, not alt season capitulation, just the death of so many altcoins, the all-time lows, or going to finding historical lows and all this stuff. I mean, most altcoins are getting slaughtered beyond belief because they haven't found a purpose. And this is the thing, without a purpose, there's no reason for your coin. Basically, whatever your token is, if you can't get a network effect, if you can't get users, if you can't get people excited about what you're doing, then you're not going to do well. That's just the basics of the markets, right? If you're, look how many Ethereum competitors there are right now. And the reality of most Ethereum competitors, they hardly have any developers. They have almost nothing built on them. Everyone's still building on Ethereum. For all of Ethereum's current flaws, everyone's still building on Ethereum. And so I think that's, a lot of that really comes into play.
Bitcoin. I mean, people say, oh, Bitcoin takes 10 minutes to send. It's like the old, you know, whatever. Why is it still number one? I don't know. That's a good question. Why is it number one? I mean, Nano, right? And I know I might trigger some people out there, and I do love my Nano fanatics, but, you know, instant, feeless, basically perfect. Why is Bitcoin still one? You know what I'm saying? And you really have to look at, like, what is it behind it? What actually creates that security of the network? And I'm not saying Nano isn't secure. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is when you're using Bitcoin, you're not just using any crypto. You're paying for the world's most secure network. I mean, we're about to hit 100 quintillion on the hash rate right now, the highest we've ever seen. That means that the miners are the absolute most confident they've ever been. They're turning on their machines. They're turning on their ASICs. They're buying the 7 nanometer chips that just, I don't know.
Everyone's doubling down. Everyone's doubling down. The 7 nanometer chips that's become the industry standard now for Bitmain and Canaan and all these companies. And everyone is doubling down on Bitcoin. The institutions are doubling down on Bitcoin. It's just, that's where a lot of the energy is flowing at the moment. Now you asked about my portfolio. I've still got a couple of altcoins that I've been holding on to that I should have sold them a year and a half ago. But you know what? I didn't. And I've lost so much money on them that if they go to zero, I really don't care. There's a couple of ones that I'm enthusiastic about the projects. And at this point, if that money disappears, it doesn't even matter. So there's that. And there's a couple of altcoins that I look at that the price is, I'm very actually bullish on some of these cryptos, but the price is actually kind of irrelevant for them because I see an actual use case in cryptocurrencies like Monero and Beam. Right? There's private crypto. So I can send money to anyone, anywhere in the world with complete privacy, with no one even knowing that I have that money and no one knowing that those transactions happened. That kind of privacy to me, that is worth holding on to. So, but that's a specific use case, right? They've got their use case down. I look at, I've got a decent amount of Ethereum as well. And I look at, you know, that's a very, very useful. It's got the network effect. It's got the critical mass of developers behind it. It's got the critical mass of projects built on. Most of those projects are garbage. But that doesn't matter. In the same way, the .com boom.
Being decentralized, right? That you can make all these terrible things.
That's right.
That's you know, and people forget.
There's no gatekeepers.
Exactly. And I think people tend to forget that when you want that kind of freedom and you want to be your own bank and you don't want to have government intervention and all this other stuff, well, then guess what? There's going to be a lot of bad options and you're going to have to figure out which ones are best suited for you. And if you're choosing to invest in these terrible options and you lose your money, well, that's also your responsibility as well. You know, one of the biggest things that I learned in 2017, 2018, especially having a channel, is the amount of people who blame other people for why their like financial situation sucks or something. Like, listen, I rode the wave all the way to the bottom. Okay. I was the noob. I was the guy holding, you know, for dear life. I watched my portfolio lose over 90% in 2018. So am I, you know, an expert? No, not at all. I'm just a guy on the internet, but I will tell you what, I'm not doing that again. And I don't want you guys to do it again. And I think it's really important that, you know, you are seeing some of the creators out there evolving and getting smarter, you know, and being more risk adverse. You know what I'm saying? So I do think that the space is evolving as a whole, not just with the crypto, YouTube, Twitter, but also I think that the actual adoption is getting better. I do. And I think that they're doing it in a way that makes sense. They're not putting the carriage above the horse or in front of the horse like we were last year. Last year, we had solutions for problems that we're probably not even going to have for a few years. Yeah. You know, like, why do I need this? I don't even, you know, it's like throwing the rock through the window and then, you know, there's the number to call for glass repair. Oh, well, great. You know, it's like you're creating problems, you know, or, you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Useless stuff after a while.
Absolutely. So, look, some of that stuff is in some situations you have to innovate before the users come, right? You have to build. That's the field of dreams, right? You build it and then they will come. There are some of those situations, but there are some just field of nightmares as well. Build it and no one comes and everybody loses their money and the SEC comes knocking on the door and all this crazy stuff happens and that's not good for anyone. But at the same time, for all the money lost, for all the scams, for all the failed deadlines and missed development targets and partnerships that didn't turn out to do anything, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, in a screwed up way, it's all healthy for the long-term value of the space because all this stuff's getting tried out. They try and fail. Others might build on that in the future, whatever. Investors learn their lessons. All this stuff is happening. We move better, you know, together forward in a way that everyone's cleverer, smarter, better things get built in the long run. So it's a brutal process.
I mean, I know the whales are all about tricking you into doing the opposite thing. I'm more than happy to do the same thing as you guys, man. Like, I'm here, like, I want everybody to win. And I do understand that in a trade, there's a buyer and a seller. So somebody's always going to kind of lose. But I think if we can, you know, that's even with like people that day trade, you know, a lot of day traders lose money. But the reality is if your successful trades can outpace your bad trades, then you're doing well. And I do like to tell people, you're going to mess up. You're going to make bad trades. Screw up, you know, you're gonna use 100x leverage. You're gonna do it. You're gonna do it because you're gonna want to try it. Of course you are. Like $100, you're gonna try it. And you're gonna lose your money. You're gonna learn. You're not gonna do it again. Guys, don't use 100x leverage.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Saying, like, I think, you know, the same thing with crypto. The space is new. We never had anything like this. You know, stock market 2.0. Only difference is you don't get paid dividends and everything is speculative. Yep. So we never really had anything like this. So what did you expect? I mean, it's like anything is possible in this space, you know, and that's why I keep doing it, because even though I focus mostly on Bitcoin, this space is still incredibly exciting to me. I mean, I'm not going to go into it too much, but even with like the DeFi, decentralized finance, I know you've spoken about that on your channel. I mean, these are all things that are evolving. These are real things that could change the world. I mean, I just think about, you know, everyone thinks I'm a Bitcoin maximalist. I'm not, guys. You know, looking at Ethereum smart contracts, imagine, you know, marrying somebody, right? And instead of a prenup, you could just have a contract and we can just tokenize our different things. And then come the day, you know, if we ever get divorced, God forbid, you know, we just get it notarized by an official person who has, I don't know, some multi-sig key to, you know, get into it or something. Yep. And then everything's distributed. And look at how many middlemen we cut out. Look at how much money we don't have to pay. Yep. We don't have to pay. You know, so there are things about this space like oracles, what Chainlink is doing, what Quant is doing, connecting the different blockchains to communicate with each other. These are all great in my opinion. You know, so I'm not sitting here saying all altcoins suck, but like a token for a wallet, like why do I need a wallet? Like why do I need BRD token to use the bread wallet? Why?
Good question.
Coinbase coin, like, you know what I mean? So there's definitely a lot of utility tokens that the utilities force, right? And we can be honest about that. The utilities forced on those, and it's like, okay, I'm going to get a 50% discount using your platform if you use a token. You could just give me the 50% discount in the first place, couldn't you? Right. Whereas and people would argue the same thing about Ethereum, but actually that's clever because you need gas. And some people go, well, that's stupid. No, it's not stupid. Yep. When you're talking about executing smart contracts and you're talking about, you know, having these transactions with whatever they are, gambling dApps or DeFi or whatever you're doing, Do you want somebody spamming the network? If there wasn't gas, I could literally just limitless. I could literally just in one day clog the whole network. So that is freaking utility, man. That actually makes sense. You know,
That's right.
Same thing with mining network fees, right? Behind Bitcoin, what would be the incentive to protect the network if there wasn't some kind of reward, right? It makes sense. And even people that sit there and they, you know, they diss on, oh, like Bitcoin is too expensive. Actually, if you've had a look at it, compared to where we were in 2017, we are substantially lower. I mean, when you're seeing guys move $1 billion of Bitcoin for $700, and I found out that they overpaid.
Yeah,
they
about 30 times or something. It's crazy.
Exactly. They could have moved $1 billion of Bitcoin for like $40. If that is still too expensive for you guys, then I just can't.
That breaks the banking system right there. And you know, the thing is, I am very excited about the innovation going on in this space. I'm very excited about the future of a lot of different cryptocurrencies, but you have to respect the trends. And this is where a lot of people get wrecked. They want reality to be different than it is at a time when it's simply not like that. When the IEO boom was going, that was the trend. You hop on that trend, ride that train, and you got to know when to get off that train, because eventually that train goes off of a bridge and falls down to a canyon and everyone dies. You know, that's not the train you want to be on. Right now, we are on the Bitcoin dominance trend. That's where it is right now. Whether you like other cryptocurrencies or not, right now, Bitcoin is dominating the market for a whole variety of reasons, right? We're in the start of that next uptrend, and right now, Bitcoin is leading. The miners are piling in, like we said. The institutions are piling in.
Oh yeah, the miners, they're like you said, but you know, not to I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go for it.
I wanted to discuss that because another thing too, I've started doing a lot more, you know, we look at a lot more charts on the channel than we used to. By the way, guys, I'm not like a professional TA expert. Like I just look at the same charts that everybody else looks at, but I started doing this in the bear market because I got so bored, you know, after a while. I was like, well, let me at least learn something. And, you know, looking at what's going on right now, everyone's looking at the same descending triangle. And that thing, man, when I tell you, it looks like it's lining up with Bakkt. And a lot of people are saying to themselves, are we going to have that dump that we had, you know, when the CME and well, CBOE, I forget what order they came out, but whatever one came out just on basically the all-time high, was that Monday. Yeah, we went on a year downtrend. And then when we got to the end of it in November, we dumped 50%. And if you look at the charts, they're looking very similar. And, you know, a lot of people are saying, is Bakkt going to launch and we're going to have a 50% dump? I'm not saying that, but there's some fear in the space. And I'm noticing that a lot of traders are actually choosing a do nothing approach right now. Like they're like, I actually don't want to do anything for the next week or two until I know if we're going down or we're going up. Because I'll tell you what, you know, people always joke, oh, you always say a big move. It's going to be massive. It's going to be like a 25, 30% plus move. And which direction? Well, that's the question. And, you know, I wish I had that answer. I don't. Somebody knows that answer.
Risk management, right? Risk management. That's the thing. And it's for the people who are going to try to play that, you know, make sure your stop losses are set and all that fun stuff. But the real thing is, man, there's so much power in simply not being in the market, protecting your capital.
Set up 2 accounts, do a long and a short, see which way it goes, and then stop loss. I don't know. Not financial advice. Don't do that. But actually, though, in all reality, having two, if you do trade on margins, having 2 accounts does help because you can, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to get stuck in a position where you can't. Yeah. So, you know, that's something I always do recommend. But
no, it really so much of it just comes down to capital protection, man. And this is the thing. I think a lot of, especially newer traders, they don't practice these capital protection strategies like using effective stop losses at support and resistance and all this stuff, and you know, simply not trading, right? I mean, geez, I think I've probably, I don't know, I would say made more money, but I've certainly protected a lot of losses by simply not trading when, you know, I feel very indecisive about the market, or the market itself is kind of looking indecisive. You just stay out, you know, when you feel like, okay, I've you know, I see what's going on here, I'm fairly confident about this trade, now I'm gonna enter it with, you know, reasonable stop loss and all that stuff. That's when you should be trading. When you feel like, I have no idea what's going on. Just stay out. Just stay out. You don't need to be in.
I could pull it up right now, but everybody knows what I'm talking about. You know, like when you're looking at those support resistance levels, after they start to get put in and, you know, they've respected them, you know, a few bounces or whatnot, you start to realize when the good opportunities are. And when you're trying to trade in the middle of the madness, that's when it gets crazy. But, you know, if we've had like, you know, let's say a support that's been supporting us 1, 2, 3 times. And let's say, for example, what we're having right now, it's kind of ascending a little bit. Well, not financial advice, but hey, man, if we go down to the bottom, we chill there, we don't dump, you know, that could be a good opportunity to long, or at least it would be a better opportunity to, you know what I'm saying?
That's right.
But it's all circumstantial because, like I said, people say the news doesn't matter. That was one of the biggest criticisms I used to get on my channel when I first started, was people being like, oh, the news doesn't matter. If Donald Trump came out and banned Bitcoin today, you don't think that would affect it? I think it would.
Yeah.
I mean, even with the geopolitical tension we were having, it was kind of interesting that they were referring to Bitcoin as a safe haven asset during that turmoil. And then as soon as they eased off it, I forget when it was, like, they basically were like, well, we're going to push this back to like October. And then all of a sudden Bitcoin started to go back down again. And I was like, isn't this thing supposed to be asymmetric and like non-correlated? But that definitely was like 100% correlated with what happened. So that was kind of what was confusing me. And in one hand, I love the fact that Bitcoin is non-correlated. That's what makes it so cool. That's what makes it so exciting. But at the same time, in a strange way, if it doesn't respond to things that are happening, out in the world, then the question is it really serving its purpose? Because it is supposed to be a hedge against, all of these terrible things like inflation and super inflation in Venezuela and stuff.
Bitcoin does not exist in a bubble. Some people might like to think that it exists in a bubble where there's no other altcoins or no other cryptocurrencies in the crypto markets, or that geopolitical events don't matter, or that political events don't matter. Political events don't influence Bitcoin, but it does not exist in a bubble. It exists in the real world. It exists here on the internet where stuff happens and people happen and all this stuff's going on. That's where Bitcoin lives, and it is responsive to these global macro events, and that's why we see, quite a bit of interest moving into it. And of course, when we have direct events like Bakkt coming up, that's massive for the whole crypto space. When you see
they have sentiment bots that essentially like pick up keywords from what's happening in social media and will make trades based off of that. It's not like it used to be, man. I mean, trading is, with these bots and algos, it's crazy fast. I mean, it's like news comes out, you're too late.
Yep.
Dump.
Yep. That's
too late.
It. They already know. The bots bots beat you to it by a bajillion seconds. But one thing I think it's interesting about Bakkt is that one of the things Kelly Loeffler said was basically that they want Bakkt to be the price discovery mechanism for Bitcoin. They want that much liquidity to come in, and they want that kind of power that when you talk about the price of Bitcoin, you need to be looking at Bakkt, not what's going on Coinbase, not what's going on Binance. What's the price on Bakkt? That's their vision for the price of Bitcoin, and that is crazy because this is really a play by Wall Street in a lot of ways to say, hey, we're here to tame the beast. We want to be the ones in charge of the party now. And look, they've done this before with other assets. We've seen them try to play these games on a lot of things. And I don't think they're going to be able to successfully do it with Bitcoin in the way that I think a lot of people think that they're going to just, tame Bitcoin and gobble it all up and all this stuff. I don't think that's going to happen. But I definitely think that the impact of Bakkt is going to be quite significant on the market.
You just got to be careful. I remember we had a conversation a long time ago in one of our videos, one of our live streams we used to do. And, one of the main takeaways of that video was just remember, when you're selling your Bitcoin, who are you selling it to? Who's buying it? You know what I mean? And the reality is where, out in the system right now, we can't really change it. It's set in stone. The Fed does what they do. I'm living here in the US. I'm just sort of abiding by what history has created for me. We're only 10 years into this thing. We are at the beginning. I mean, I'm talking less than 0.01% of the global money in the world is in Bitcoin. There is so much room for growth right now that, people that are just panic selling, it's like, oh, what are you doing?
Okay,
so you bought too high. It's funny because, people were making fun of Anthony Pompliano when he came out on CNBC, and it was pretty much almost dead at the bottom. And he was like, we've been buying all the way down, which means they were buying at 7K, 6K, 5K. And people were laughing at him like, what are you doing? Well, now it's 10K. And all those buys that I did from 7 down to 3, I'm up, baby. You see what I'm saying? But people don't have that long-term mentality, and it's difficult for people to realize that you can ladder down and you can ladder up.
Yep.
Dollar cost averaging doesn't matter when you do it. And when you have a look at the chart of Bitcoin, historically speaking, there's only, and don't quote me exactly, but it's roughly like somewhere between 60 and 90 days over the course of the past 10 years that were not profitable.
Yep.
Had you bought Bitcoin.
Yep. It's crazy.
So when you're looking at a statistic like that and you're still calling it a crappy store of value, why are you watching YouTube channels? Go do something else with your life. Why are you on this video? What are you here for?
Yeah, that's it, man. Just go cut your grass or something. Just, No,
Yeah,
it's so true, man. This is actually it's amazing how the power of dollar cost averaging in over time really just gives you that. There's a great tool. I can't remember. It's like dollarcostaveraging.com or something.
yeah.
I don't remember. But
Actually,
but,
I'll give a
go
plug to
ahead.
one of our fellow YouTube friends. You know, Bitcoin for Beginners,
Yep.
Kevin. Yeah, if you guys are watching, Google it, Bitcoin for Beginners, and there's a video on dollar cost averaging, and he starts from the all-time high. He starts at 20K, and he says, had I dollar cost average every week from the all-time high, he was still in profit. He was up like 30% or 35% or something at the end of the video. And he started buying at the all-time high.
It's crazy.
So for people that are saying, oh, I bought high, what did you do? Put everything in and then just sell it all low and then walk away? I mean, then yeah. But had you actually cost all the way down, all the way back up, you'd be up, man. Even buying at 20K.
You have to keep that long-term perspective and that's I think where a lot of people fail, where we live in a society of like instant gratification. I want it now. If you want it now, go play a lottery. If you want it now, go to the casino, put all your money on black and see what happens on the roulette table. That's gonna be instant gratification or instant disappointment for you. If you want to actually
legal. That's legal, by the way.
That's legal, yeah.
We don't know about this crypto stuff.
That's right. There's gonna be no regulators there to stop you from losing your entire life savings on a roulette wheel in 5 seconds. But that long-term vision. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, because before we were talking, I know you wanted to talk about the halving event.
Oh yeah, the halving. Yep.
And I wanted to talk about that too, because I wonder if this time the beast is different. Because if you look in the past, you know, everyone's saying we're gonna, you know, I've seen 46,000, 54,000, 100,000 calls for the end of this year. I believe anything is possible, but historically, you know, we've never put in another high until the halving. We've never. So my question is, you know, we're already at 10. Are we really going to go all the way through May without breaching 20, or is it going to be different this time? That's a question that I want to know. Like, because, you know, this is very new to me. And even, are we going to fill the CME futures gaps? That was something I was interested in. And so far, we haven't filled the gap at 8,500. Are we going to fill it? If we don't, well, then that pretty much invalidates every future argument of, are we going to fill it? Because once I see it happen once, then I know it can happen.
Yeah.
You know, but so far we've never put in an all-time high before the halving event. So if history repeats itself, we're not going to break 20K until May of next year. What do you think about that? Do you think it's different this time, or?
I think it very well could be different this time, just based on what we see being built out. I mean, you know, 4 years ago, Fidelity wasn't selling Bitcoin to their customers. 4 years ago, you know, Bakkt didn't exist 4 years ago. The CME didn't exist 4 years ago. There wasn't, you know, 1.4 million point of sale devices in Brazil, which are, you know, letting people pay in Bitcoin. And all this stuff comes together. Now, is that all significant enough to drive us over $20,000? It's hard to say. And look, like I made a video on this the other day, and I would not be surprised in either direction if we hit the new all-time high in a month. Well, this Bitcoin, surprise, surprise, right? But I could honestly see us ranging below 20, right? Up to 10, you know, 10 to 15, back down to 13, up to 16, all around the place, until maybe about a couple months out to the halving. So, you know, the rest of the year, relatively chill, could be, right? Maybe Bakkt will have a big impact and we'll just go to the moon. But I could very easily see a situation where we're just ranging until maybe like March or something. And then we start to really boom, because that's that, you know, like what happened with Litecoin. Couple months out from the halving, and then, you know, people say, well, what about Litecoin? Look what happened to Litecoin. Dude, Litecoin is not Bitcoin. I got a little bit of Litecoin sitting around somewhere, but like, honestly, Litecoin is not Bitcoin. Litecoin has got 1/1000th of the kind of brand recognition, 1/1000th of the infrastructure built around it, 1/1000th of anything compared to Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get on that topic and, you know, piss people off, but I mean, even down to like development and the Litecoin Foundation. I mean, you know, all the stuff that came out in the news. We don't have to go over all that, but I mean, you know, essentially, it's pretty much been solidified that it's a test bed for Bitcoin. I mean, Charlie Lee has made that very clear. You know, silver to Bitcoin's gold, whatever, but he's essentially made it it's just a test net for Bitcoin. That's all it is, and he's been very clear about that. So I don't really know what else to say. The founder said that out of his mouth, so don't come at me with the stones and I don't know, man. But I'll tell you what, when I first got
my crypto coin.
I know if you offend anybody, it's like thumb down, I hate you. Like, I'm sorry, like if you listen, man, you love Nano, use Nano. You
Yep,
know,
that's it.
it's got to stabilize soon, right? I mean, it's got to eventually find its
Someday.
floor price. So, guys, I
Uh,
seriously, I like you guys. If you like Nano, we're friends, okay? I just joke around. I just joke around with everybody. I like everybody. Screw tribalism, okay? We're all here
yeah, no.
together. Screw tribalism. I hate that crap. It's
Me
like we're
too, man.
already
It drives
like
me crazy.
such a small niche, and like we're gonna tear each other even smaller. It makes no
Yeah.
sense.
Well, the end goal for all cryptocurrencies, well, maybe not some cryptocurrencies, they're just to steal people's money, but for most legit cryptocurrencies, the end goal is creating a better financial world, creating more useful stuff for people on the internet, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, we can sit here and have, I think, honest conversations about how that's going with different cryptocurrencies, right? We really can. But just saying, oh, your cryptocurrency sucks because of X, and therefore your everything you do is invalid and all that. That's just childish stuff. Like, we can have real conversations about real technology, real use cases, real infrastructure, all this kind of stuff. Those are conversations are interesting and valid. The dumb tribal stuff, that's just there's no point. And I think one other thing too is about people getting wedded to investments. I think this is where a lot of that deep tribalism comes in is, dudes, it's code on a computer, which you've probably never even read. Let's keep it honest.
You know what
And
it
it's a
reminds me of?
symbol. That's it. There's
You know what it
no,
reminds me of, Mark? Like the girlfriend that just stays in the abusive relationship, and
mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? And it's like he says, I love you once in a while. Like it get pumps 10% every so often and then dumps 25. You know what I mean? It's like just enough to just stay in that abusive relationship. And for me, I had to bite the bullet, I guess is the term, on my channel. When people were asking me about some of the coins I would talk about, they were like, oh, you shilled this, you shilled that. I was like, guys, I actually owned it. I actually held those tokens and coins and I lost the value with you guys. Okay.
Yeah.
But I got to a certain point where I was like, this doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to do what I thought any rational person would do and cut the bleeding, stop the losses. Like it was just too much. So yeah, there were a lot of projects I used to speak about and I don't speak about them as much. That doesn't mean I don't like them. It's just that I know a lot of people watch these channels. Okay. And I know that I have people that genuinely take what I say seriously, which you should always take what anybody on the internet says with a grain of salt. But I'm not going to start talking about things until I really genuinely see something worth talking about. And I'll tell you what, when, some of these older projects come out, I'm not even going to pick names. I'll say whatever, Neo, Ontology, Elastos, Icon, you pick it. Okay. If these older projects come out and they start, really pushing to the forefront. I mean, look, Nash just came out. We've been talking about that. That's a pretty big project,
Mm-hmm.
So, and don't forget, you also have these like super next generation ones coming out now. Like you have Polkadot, you have Hedera Hashgraph.
They might totally Algorand and stuff like that. They might totally just shake up the way the space is working. Absolutely, because these guys have been in development for years. I mean, you look at the vision behind Cosmos. Like these guys are like building stuff for the future of technology, and they're an incredibly serious team.
Very serious. That's a big difference too, is look at the team, look at the experience, look at the guys. Like these aren't people that are just like, hey man, we could definitely raise like a couple $1,000,000. Like, no, it's like we really actually genuinely have intelligent people working behind the scenes and we want to make things better. Like we actually want to improve on the space, not just like have like a little lollipop dApp where you like have your lollipop coins and it's, what the hell am I going to do with these? Like I really got to the point where like, I don't want to look like a fool looking back at how I used to believe. I mean, I used to think, Neo was going to be a household name. I was like, oh, you guys wait. You're all going to be using the Neo appliances. And, I don't know. Like, I thought it was just going to be this crazy thing. And then you realize, like, well, for the most part, it's pretty good for building games on, and we gotta work from there. And, people, they diss on Ethereum. Well, what if Feathercoin, they introduced proof of stake, right? Who the hell knows about that? I mean, like you have to evolve. And I still think Ethereum, for as much as people hate on it, is doing a better job than most other, even ones that are 10 to 20 times faster.
Yep.
I think that as a whole, the ecosystem is a lot more robust. And for me, I'm not so worried about the base layer. A lot of people get concerned about a slower base layer, but when you think about it, when you build a foundation to a house, that needs to be sturdy. You don't want it to be incredibly fast. In fact, the reason, like the fact that Bitcoin takes 10 minutes, I actually like that as a settlement layer because it's actually allowing everyone to validate, everyone to agree. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's why you pay for it. That's why you use it.
Yep.
You pay for security. You know what I'm saying? I mean, how many I don't mean to diss Ethereum, but how many of these contracts came out on tokens? You're seeing tokens get burning themselves, you know, in the background. People go to check their wallet, all their tokens are gone. They didn't even get hacked. There's just like an exploit. You know what I'm saying? So you pay for what you get, man. And I still think Bitcoin is the most secure. And that's why for me, fluctuation in price, fine, but I still believe in being my own bank, man. And
Yeah,
that's
100%.
That's what I'm going to do it. Like if still to this day, you would laugh at what's in my bank account. Still, you'd be like, K-Dub, you haven't cashed out? Nope. Nope. I'm still in Bitcoin, my friends, because I believe in it. And I get here and every single day when I make these videos, I talk the talk. And you know that, Lark. I mean, I basically live off Bitcoin. So
yeah, same. Well, that's actually the last question I want to ask for you for today, and we're gonna wrap up after that. And that's actually, how do you use crypto in real life? Because this is something I think, you know, there's so many things out there that could be possibly used in terms of crypto innovations and games and all this blah 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 blah, or even just simple payments. So are you actually using crypto in your day-to-day life to pay for stuff, to buy stuff, to do whatever with?
It depends. I mean, occasionally, you know, like you know, you got to be realistic. I can't go to my grocery store and use Bitcoin. I just can't. You know what I mean? So a lot of, you know, the day-to-day stuff, like if I got to pay my mortgage, they don't take Bitcoin.
Nope.
You know what I mean? They just don't take it. I'd love to say I pay in it, but they don't. So unfortunately, I am still doing a lot of cashing out. You know what I mean? But there are a lot of websites now that have offered integration. And although it's not necessarily Satoshi's vision, you know, like what things like BitPay or, you know, Puma Pay or even Monarch Pay are doing, it's not the vision, but I do use things like that. So essentially the guy on the other end still getting fiat, you know, he doesn't know.
Yeah.
But I have used some, like I do use Monarch. I'll tell you, I use Monarch Pay. I have Monarch Wallet. But I mean, yeah, it's still mostly fiat. It's mostly fiat for day to day. But anytime I can use Bitcoin, I try to, just, you know, because you have to use it once in a while. But yeah, unfortunately, it's not as easy as it could be. I was looking to actually get my crypto card. Actually, to be honest with you, I was thinking about getting one of those. Do you have one, or
No, I've got a 10x card actually. The my crypto cards are not available in New Zealand yet, unfortunately. But I've been playing around with their app quite a bit recently, and I've lent out some Bitcoin on their crypto earn service, just so you know.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, it's like some hodling Bitcoin that I've got, and it's just like I'm gonna get 8% interest on that over the next year. Like that's, you know, it's a risk factor. I mean, it's a bit of, you know, you think, okay, that's the Bitcoin,
yeah,
only at 8%, but at the same time, it's just, you know, why not?
It's better than nothing. It's better. It's more than you're going to get. It's more than you're going to get in a bank.
That's right.
So
that's right.
You don't even get anything in a bank. Banks are just straight up lies. It's like
they really are. They're giant scams, man. It's crazy.
Put your money away in the CD for 5 years, get 5%. It's like, yeah, but aren't we like inflating at 2 to 3% annually? So if I'm getting 5% at the end of 5 years, you still just took my money. What the hell, man?
That's it.
So anyway, dude, Lark, it's been
crazy
awesome.
times.
Thanks for having me on the channel.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I really genuinely hope that your channel found value out of this. I know I can be a little sporadic and crazy, and I'm not, you know, but that's just my mind, man. But I just want to give a massive shout out to the, you know, crypto Lark community. You guys rock. I've been watching Lark since before even I had a channel. So it's a pleasure and an honor to be here with you, man. And, you know, thank you for sticking it out, man. And, you know, a lot of these other guys, they up and left during the bear market. And I appreciate that, you know, guys like you and me, even though it was painful at moments, you stuck around, and for that, man, you rock. And, you know, there's got to be some level of respect to that. So thanks for what you do, buddy. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on, Kate. I appreciate the kind words, man. It's just a great chat to you as always, man. So thanks to everyone out in the audience as well for sticking around and listening to us for like 35, 40 minutes, whatever this conversation was. So you guys are awesome as always. And yeah, we'll catch you next time.
All right. Until next time, stay crypto. Peace out.
Peace out till next time.